and apply on Imam Hussein, and we forget that Imam Hussein himself is the legislation. We know that فعل المعصوم وتقريره حجة وصمته حجة, that the action of the Ma'soom, how do we derive all of our rulings? Does the Imam has to always say to us directly, this is haram and this is halal? No. Sometimes the Imam say it frankly. Sometimes the Imam, he acts it and he does it in front of the Shia, and then they realize that his action is acceptable. And sometimes the Imam shows silence about it. One of his companions, they do it in front of him, and then the Imam doesn't say anything about it. This is tashri'. When he doesn't say anything about it, and his role is to say something about it if it's wrong, then this is tashri'. So what do we realize here? That yes, we have a hukum shar'i, we have a ruling that al-amr al-ma'ruf wal-nahy al-munkar is a must, and we have another ruling from al-Imam al-Sadiq, as we mentioned earlier, that it's not a must if it's going to cause harm, and then the action of al-Imam al-Hussein gives you a third condition. If the harm is great and the ma'ruf is greater than the harm, then it's a must, even if there is going to be harm. This is the answer to the misconception. It means even when there is a harm, at some point, enjoining what's good, forbidding what's evil becomes a must. In order to analyze that and elaborate on this point, we will mention this after Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So every time I see something wrong in the community, any community that I live in, I make a calculation. If I enjoin what's good and forbid what's evil, how much is the harm? If the harm is greater and it's not worth it for me to fulfill my duty towards al-amr bil-ma'ruf wal-nahy al-munkar, then I leave him. For example, someone is backbiting, and if I tell him to stop, it might cause to my death. Definitely here the harm is much greater than the ma'ruf, then I avoid it. In the case that the ma'ruf is greater than the harm, no matter how the harm is strong, the ma'ruf is greater, then it is a must. Al-Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, يَكُونُ فِي آخِرِ الزَّمَانِ قَوْمٌ مُرَاءٌ. At the end of the time there will be people that mura'un, as in their actions, they do it just to show off. لا يوجبون أمرا بمعروف ولا نهيا عن منكر إلا إذا أمنوا الضرر. The only time that they will enjoin what's good and forbid what's evil, it's only when they are not going to cause harm for themselves. What they do, they seek excuses. So here we're not talking about there is a real harm. They seek excuses, they make up excuses to avoid fulfilling their duty towards this, even though that the hadith says, كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. Each and every one of you is a leader. You have an influence on a friend, on your son, on your brother, on your sister, on a member in the community. You have an influence, whether you like it or not, either by words or by actions. Your actions can be a role model to others. So what happens to those who seek the excuses to avoid fulfilling this duty? He says, هُنَالِكَ يَغْضَبُ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ وَيُعْمِهِمْ بِعِقَابٍ. That's when Allah will punish them and will blind them with His punishment. When we understand that, we realize why Al-Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam gave the title of his revolution is to enjoin what's good for and forbid what's evil. What was the harm? He spoke about Yazid. He said, فَعَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ السَّلَامِ إِذَا ابْتُلِيَتِ الْأُمَّةِ بِرَاعٍ مِثْلُ يَزِيدٍ. We should bid farewell to Islam if the nation is going to be led by a person like Yazid. So when the whole religion, the whole identity is threatened by something in the community, and I couldn't avoid it. I can't stay in my house 24/7. I have to be in a community. The religious environment that I attend to, sometimes it has gaps. I have to fix it. It's a must, because the harm is going to affect my children, the next generation and the generation that is after. This is the theological point that is related to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We look at his words, we take an extra condition to the rulings, and we do not apply the rulings on him, which teaches us in this case that even if the harm is big, sometimes the ma'ruf, enjoining what's good and forbidding what's evil, becomes a must, even with that condition and with this situation. Sallallahu alaihi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.